Welcome back to the Nano Cruising Podcast, the podcast for dinghy cruising and trailer sailing. I'm your host, Stefan Marceau. Today, we talk with Rachel Doss. You will find out she found her Guppy 13. You'll find out about her first outing. You'll find out about her participation in Texas 200. You will learn some lessons about getting knocked down. So join us in this fun episode. So welcome, Rachel. So glad to have you on.
Thank you. Well, it's great to be here and get to talk to you.
Glad to have you on. I've been reading about you for a while. I was interested in guppies a long time ago. They're so hard to find, and I think I came across your site. And now that I've started, I said, I remember there was this lady that was really into guppies. In fact, then I realized, she started the United Guppies on Facebook and is an administrator on there. So, that'd be great to hear your story. You have some great stories, and you've documented them so well, which is really,
thank you,
really fun to be able to look at that. So, I guess let's start a little bit about your background, what drew you to sailing. I remember from reading that you basically graduated and started to look for a boat.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the compliment, Stefan. It's really nice of you to say. Yeah, so I grew up around the water with my dad. He would take us, canoeing and kayaking, and then he ended up buying actually a West White Potter.
Oh, that's what I have.
I know.
Okay, you do know. Okay.
I just remember having a really good time. It was always really relaxed with my dad, and I loved it. But then I went to school and got distracted with all of that, and
real life.
Exactly. Yeah, making money and working hard, but then I graduated with a second degree in nursing, and I decided that I had free time.
You had free time. So you thought.
Right. That's what I thought, and I decided to get a boat. I don't know. It was just all of a sudden I wanted a boat.
Nice.
And my dad was really supportive and just said,
great,
to start looking, and that he would help me with the purchase, which I thought was great.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I looked at a lot of different boats. I was actually at work, and one of my coworkers had said there was the cutest little sailboat on Facebook, and she showed me, and I was like, I want this boat. I have to have this.
You've never seen a guppy before?
Nope, never laid eyes on a guppy.
Okay.
It was love at first sight.
Right. Right. That's great.
I think she's just so cute,
It is very cute, and it's very shippy for a small size. It's fantastic.
Exactly. Like I always say, she's got big ship qualities in a small package. So
exactly.
I tried to buy that one, and it kind of fell through. So the guy ended up wanting to give it to his grandson, which is totally fair. But at that point, I was like, I'm officially obsessed with the guppy.
Now you've got the guppy bug, and they're pretty hard to find, as I know. So
they are, yeah. Apparently, there were only about 300 made in the 70s, and only probably 100 that are actually in good condition where you can find one and sail it. And so, but I was really lucky in Oklahoma. I came across one on Craigslist, and I ended up driving to Oklahoma and paying full asking price for my little boat. And I remember the whole trip. My mom helped drive because I think it was about 12 hours up there.
It's a good drive. So it's a good test of driving and trailering too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And I just remember, Guppy home and putting her in my garage, and I would go out there and peek out there and see. Just couldn't believe that I had the Guppy. So that was the start of really good experience with my little boat.
That's great.
So,
and what was your first outing with that? Did you have to do any updates to it, or you were ready to go? And then what was your first?
Yes, they took really good care of her, and she was ready to go. The first outing is kind of hard for me because I do know that I wanted to do the whole ritual, where I would put a branch from the shore and then give a drink to Poseidon in the lake. And it was at Lake Bryan. So I'm Central Texas. So there's not, the sailing culture here is pretty much I wouldn't say non-existent, but it's unusual.
Mm-hmm.
So I do get a lot of strange looks when I say I'm a sailor. But I love it.
That's
So
great. That's a great
yeah,
obsession. No worries.
it is. I am totally hooked. I actually went sailing yesterday too. It was
Did you? Did you?
yeah. So,
Good.
but yeah, the first outing was good. She was ready to go, and we just zipped across the lake and came back, and everything was fine. So.
And then your first, I read somewhere, I don't remember exactly, that must be on your
Mhm.
blog, about your first overnight, I think, right? That was pretty good memories from
Yes.
that, right?
Yes, that was the significant one. Yeah, it was at Lake Somerville. It's a pretty big lake for us here. It's
Mm-hmm.
about 45-minute drive. So
Mm-hmm.
I decided it was over Thanksgiving break, and I decided it was perfect. I wanted to take Guppy out, and I wanted to try out camping on her.
Mm-hmm.
And the wind was perfect. We had a great sail, and then it died right at sunset, which was wonderful. I found a little cove. I dropped the anchor, which I really almost didn't even need because there was like zero wind, which was
Mm-hmm.
just ideal.
Nice.
Because I could actually sleep. There was no there was no commotion.
Nice.
And yeah, it was lovely. And just to be, with my boat and just enjoy the nature. And I loved it.
And then you took
Mhm.
a lot of big adventures. I don't know which one was first, the Texas 200 or the
But yeah,
Salish 100. So
the
which one
Texas
did you do
200 I
first?
did really early on with Guppy, which was, I don't know if it was a little bit foolish.
No, I think
And
there's all kinds of. I mean, there's puddle ducks that do this Texas
yes,
200,
and
so anything can make it really.
it can, but it does take a lot of skill. I think I'm very impressed with the whole Texas 200 group. They're amazing sailors, amazing people.
But you didn't have a great experience either, from what I read. But it's always, from what I hear, everybody has to do it multiple times before they get it right, right? So, tell me about it a little bit in a nutshell. You learned some lessons.
Yes, lessons for sure. And definitely check your equipment before you go, which they all warned me to do that. So I
Mm-hmm.
was really like, I'm prepared. Me and my dad, we looked over my boat before I left.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of funny. We did some last minute. Well, the boat was so new to me
Mm-hmm.
that and there's no manual. And that was kind of why I did start the Guppy group, so that we could kind of help each other figure things out,
Right.
because I had no manual. But the way the boat came to me, her compression post was actually upside down. So it wasn't actually
Hmm.
functioning correctly, but I
Mm.
didn't know that.
Mm.
But me and my dad were just like looking over everything, and we ended up kind of jerry rigging just so that we would have more support for the mast
Right.
before I left to the coast to
Okay.
do
So
this
so you
crazy
improved
trip.
that portion, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And I checked over my rudder. I thought my rudder looked good and solid, and we were both like, this is going to be fine. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but that was actually what ended up breaking the first day.
Maybe it's a good thing in the first day to to break rudder.
Yes. They say the Texas 200 eats rudders, and it is true. So I can attest to that. Yeah, there was a lot of amazing moments, and it was small craft advisory wins.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
one of the guys that was out, he actually said that his the wind speed measured at 37 miles an hour at one point.
Ooh, that's 30 plus knots. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
I don't want to be
I,
out there.
no, and it did kind of creep up because it coastal sailing. Like, I'm kind of used to the lake. I'm more used to lake sailing. So the coastal sailing is that steady breeze. So
Mm-hmm.
it just started building through the afternoon. So the morning was really pleasant, beautiful sailing. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden things started getting started breaking and
Oh
started
no.
just being more stressful. And I had one sail at the working jib, so it was at 85%. And so it was my small sail.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, looking back, I should have just gone bare poles because it's downwind. Yeah, because in some of the pictures, you can actually see my mast is just bending forward.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. And I actually hit the whole, it was Guppy was going 6.2 knots.
Oh, wow. I think that's above hull speed, isn't it?
It's 2 knots above hull
Oh
speed
my
full.
God.
We were surfing. It was
Yes.
crazy. So
Right. Right.
um, it was
Wow.
great. I mean, it
It
was
was
a
great.
blast. My friend Jacob was brave enough to do this thing with me, but I don't think he would do it again after all this. But he did let me know that we had a little problem, and
Mm-hmm.
I looked, and there was just this hairline fracture that was breaking the aluminum that was connecting the tiller to the rudder.
Mm.
And so I didn't have any way to really fix that. It was just so much pressure and demand
Right.
on that the
Right.
rudder.
So then
So
you abandoned the Texas 200 at that point.
yeah, so we had luckily had kind of a mothership
Mm-hmm.
nearby that had been keeping their eyes on us, which was really
Nice.
wonderful. And we called overhead, and they were like, "We will throw you a tow. We'll get you towed in to Port Mansfield," which we weren't too far off
Right.
from. And so
Right.
that was exhilarating because I got to go on the bow, and this huge, I think they were 22 foot. So it was big compared to Guppy.
Yes.
And they're just sailing super close to us. And then they throw me the line, and I do a quick, cleat. And we were under tow before I knew it.
Okay.
And then they got into trouble when we were going up. It was really hairy. I mean, it was just a lot of wind. And they ended up towing us into the rocks.
Oh, no.
We both ended up, we both ended up on the jetties of,
Oh,
but we were very close to Port Mansfield. And so they had other support boats. And it was just a wild day because I think 20 boats so half the fleet dropped out after the first day.
Oh, geez. Yeah. So that's a bad year, basically. Bad start.
It was a little rough. Yeah.
A little rough, she says now.
Yeah.
So what did you find out about your rudder? You couldn't fix it?
Yeah, no, of course. We actually were really going to try to fix it in Port Mansfield, but I wanted stainless steel rather than that aluminum.
So that's a tough story, but that's part of it. It's part of learning, right? So
absolutely. I learned a ton, and it is good. Like if you're going to go out in those conditions, it's really good to be sailing in company like that. That's one thing.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And I'm glad I did it. So.
And then you took the big one, the Salish 100, and that's a long haul too.
Yeah. I love that. And then that one, I completed the entire event.
Nice.
And I loved it, and amazing people up there too. Lots of different challenges. And yeah, even just trailering her across the country was interesting.
Probably great. Nice road trip, great adventure, right? And what are some of the highlights from the trailering and getting there? Any issues? Everything good? I'm always paranoid of trailering. I've been lucky, but I'm always paranoid. Yeah, there seems always something go wrong, but generally.
Yeah, I think you're smart to be paranoid like that. I think I am too. But you just try to prepare for what could happen, and so I made sure to have a spare tire. Of course, you've got to check your bearing buddies, everything with your equipment, make sure that everything's pretty solid. And then you do stops throughout. So I would always stop and check everything.
Yes, good idea to check frequently. So you got there, and tell me about the actual experience of participating in this.
Yeah, so it was really amazing. We put in at Olympia, and I think they said it was 100 miles. I don't remember exactly how far the distance was that we sailed, but it did take a full 6 days, I think, that I was on the water. Yeah, it was amazing. And it's just very idyllic up there. Like nothing that I have seen that can compare to in Texas. It's just the water and the land. It's very, honestly, like I'm kind of obsessed with that area, and I want to somehow get back up there. But yeah, there were so many. I don't know if you want some hairy stories or if you want
Tell me
just
the good and the bad. I love to hear the
yeah. Actually,
precious moments and the hairy stories too.
yeah. Actually, I had one day that was in particular that was had both probably some of the best and the worst.
Oh,
It was the second to last day. It was day 6, and I did write about that on my blog too, pretty detailed account. But mostly because it was just so it's burned in my brain. But it was such a great day. I learned a lot, but it was also terrifying.
oh no,
So I am a little proud of myself because
you should
we're
be.
all. Oh, thanks. Yeah, yeah.
People don't realize what it takes.
Well, before we left, I knew that it was windy. It was I can't remember. I think it was gusting in the 20s. I can't remember exactly,
Yeah,
but
that's a lot. That's enough.
yeah, it was enough. And one thing about the Puget Sound that was challenging for me is the currents and the tides. And
Yeah,
luckily, sailing in company, they kept me up to date with what to expect, how to navigate the waters. So Marty Loken, who is amazing, and he set up the event. He organized everything and like made sure we knew what to do on this day because he knew that the conditions were kind of heavy. So he said, stay close to shore. And so I knew I was supposed to do that. Anyways, I got scared and I ended up, so as I'm like leaving the marina, I have to get past this huge ferry and but then you also hear over the radio that another sailboat had got ran aground
Oh
and
no.
it just felt very chaotic.
You were alone on your boat?
Oh yeah. I was,
Oh yeah.
with
Okay.
with the Texas 200, I had company, but with
Right.
this one, I did completely solo. My mom did fly up there to be ground support, which was super nice, but she never was on the boat with me. So I got onto a tack and I just had only my working jib up again. And the seas were confusing me because I had never experienced it was like a washing machine effect. So I think that the winds were just colliding with the current and just creating it was making things a little confusing for me and it kind of spooking me a little bit. So I ended up just kind of just staying on one tack, one point of sail, and just getting further and further away from shore. And then I realized, well, I'm not around anyone and I'm too far from shore and I know I need to jibe, but I just was shaking and I didn't want to jibe. And then all of a sudden I think it was a wave, but I got broadsided and I ended up getting knocked down.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus. Right. I was like, oh my goodness. So the instincts took over, which was good because I like crouched down. And I do remember looking and everything in my cabin just, went to the other side and I saw Guppy's rub rail was in the water. So I'm pretty sure we were, at the 90. But of course, then all the wind had got dumped out of her.
Yeah, and so you're not capsized, but you're
exactly
rolled over. Now you're gonna find out what's a self-righting moment.
Exactly. So now I was really impressed with how my boat did, and I love that boat. I think she's very seaworthy, but
it's pretty hard knocked down. Yes,
yeah,
definitely.
hard.
Not fun.
No, not fun, but not a full capsize, which is great because those waters are dangerously cold too.
Right.
Which I'm also not used to, by the way. Then I didn't have any protective gear on. I did have my life jacket on, but
you don't even life jacket. You were probably not tied on. Most people
exactly. And so then when we got knocked down, she bobbed right back up after we lost. Yeah, and then I was smart and I was able to change course and I'm like, I'm getting back to shore. But I did also make a note that I had my VHF radio, but it was clipped to my boat and I realized it needs to be clipped to me. So I clipped it to my life vest immediately after that. But that is something that everyone should do when you're in, because if you get separated from your boat, I wouldn't have had a way to call.
Yeah, good idea. I have a floating VHF clipped onto you. Absolutely.
Yes. But luckily it didn't come to that, but it was, and that wasn't even, that was one exciting moment.
That's a very exciting. It's not, you mean there's more?
Yes. And that was, I think, prepping me for it's called Point No Point. Everybody had been talking about it. So there's this spot that you have to get around, and it has this crazy rip tide, and you can actually see the rip in the water. It's really cool because it kind of changes a blue color. And so I had to get around that, and everybody had plans and were talking about it. But I had to get through it. But I knew what I had to do, and I had gained some confidence since the knockdown, actually, just because, well, I knew what she could handle after that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I was able to navigate jibe quickly, and maybe a little rope burn, but we got through it really quick. I was so proud of us.
Nice.
And at the end of the trip, I was telling some guys about the Point No Point, and they said, "Wait a minute, you did that under sail alone?" And I said, "Yeah." And they were like, "Wow, you got more balls than me."
How did they do it? They put their motor down? Is that what they did?
Yeah, they were all, I think a lot of them motored because, but honestly, I would like to say that I was just a hardcore sailor, but it was really my little motor wouldn't have been able to help me in those conditions. It was too small and too underpowered.
Well, you're a good sailor, obviously, so that's great. And the great memories?
Yes, and so that same day, it started lightening up, and we anchored in Mats Bay, and it was just the most idyllic setting, and all the little boats were nestled, and we had a little rain shower, and I was able to have a nap and to look out on the anchorage, and we had a rainbow going over our anchorage, and it was so beautiful. You could hear music on the shore, and it was just so relaxed. It was like a totally different day.
Fantastic.
And I was just filled with joy and just happiness. It was beautiful. And I had my little paddle board, so I went around and talked to other boats and just enjoyed the evening. So
that's
nice.
You mentioned you created the United Guppies, the group, and that seems to have a pretty good following there. Some really good people on there too.
Yeah, I love them. It's a good group. It's just amazing, the community, the small boat community, but yeah, the guppy lovers seem to be just really good people. Casey Clark, he's incredible, and he knows so much, and he's modified, and he does really good just work on his boat, and I'm like, oh, I'm jealous. He's like done really good. I want to aspire to some of that work, and they're just a really great group. I mean, if anyone loves this boat, they just seem to have this kind of maybe a playful nature about them, or just not taking themselves too seriously or something. And Christine, she's also she's one of my best friends, and she has a Sparrow.
Oh yes, it's almost the same, isn't it? It's a 12. Sparrow.
Yeah, exactly. The Sparrow and Guppy history is actually kind of interesting too. It's a whole read on it, but there's a big conflict on which one had the design first. And so because they're basically the same boats, but it was different makers, but they both went out of business, so I don't know.
So tell me, what's your future, or what are you planning on doing? Are you going to try the 200 again, or just regular cruising with the Guppy? What are your future plans?
Yeah, I don't have anything super set right now.
No. Right?
Yeah.
So what do you do? You cruise regularly, locally?
Yeah, I definitely take her out. We have a little lake here that I take her out on. So even yesterday, I just took her out for an evening sail with my friends. We were going to watch the moon rise up. It was quite nice.
Nice.
Yeah. I had big plans for her. Like there's, y'all are going to think I'm crazy.
No.
I thought about crossing over to the Bahamas with her.
I think you could do it. I mean, it's a great boat.
Thank you. I really do too. I really appreciate that.
You pick your window. I think it's doable.
Exactly. Because I think there was someone on YouTube, I think it was Lady K sailing, but they just said, if you, like you said, watch the weather and of course the Gulf Stream and plan it appropriately. And obviously I got to get a stronger motor.
So yeah, the Bahamas, that takes planning and time, because It's not
Yes.
you have to wait for the weather windows. If you say, I
Exactly.
take 2 weeks, yeah, no, you may
Yeah.
be waiting 3, 4, 5 weeks before you can cross
Exactly.
it. So, we'll cheer you. If you do it, let us know. We'll
For
cheer you.
sure.
We'd love to hear that.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
any tips you want to share to people that want to get into this small boat sailing world?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the best advice is just don't second guess yourself. Just go ahead and do it. Like, get as prepared as you can, but just make it happen. Because, like, if you wait till
Right.
everything is just perfect, you're never going to go.
Right.
So
Right.
I would just say, just go and figure it out. Usually, if problems do arise, you have enough time to figure out how to fix it or tweak it, and it's just fun. The problem solving is part of the fun of everything.
Right.
And another thing for just women too,
Yeah,
just to
good
empower.
point. Good point.
Yeah, I am a little bit of an odd duck here because it's usually men that do at least solo sailing, but
Yes.
just not to let like anything like that discourage you. If it's what you want to do, then
Just do it.
go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where there's a will, there's a way. And a lot of people want to help too. And it's such a great community that, yeah, you can make it happen. And
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you.
yeah, it's awesome. And I really appreciate just your enthusiasm for the nano cruising and the micro cruising and the small boats. I think just a special community, and this is just a little, I don't know, a nice addition to this community. So I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank you. That was fun. So, upcoming in our next episode, we have Alan Mulholland from Sailing Wave Rover. That should be very interesting. As discussed in the last episode, we have created a survey on our website. Easy to find. We created a survey to know if we're serving you well. Are we on the right track? Are you liking these episodes, these interviews, or would you like more technical episodes? Your input is really important to serve you well. So when you fill the survey, at the end, you have the option of putting in your email address. If you do put in your email address, we'll send you a guide that we're starting on nano cruising. I appreciate all of you listening and giving feedback. After all, this is for you. And in closing, as usual, seize your own adventure.